Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Alexander Wurzer. That are the SAPI IP Business Talks. Today is Wednesday, so we are live again. And today we are quite early. It's 3 o'clock here in Germany, in Munich. But it's due to our guest. And we always have to adapt a little bit to the time zones when we do that. So last week we were in the United States, in California. So today we are in the Ukraine. I want to motivate you to ask us questions or having comments. Just write it down. We see that here, and I can integrate your questions in our discussion here. That's the reason why it's a live format, that we can discuss with you. So now I'm very happy that Anton is with us. And first of all, I would like that he introduces himself and explain you as the audience a little bit his way into that IP field. Hello, Anton. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you. Thank you, dear colleagues, that you joined us. I hope that this event will be very interesting. And because of the interesting topics, in fact, just about me, I am patent attorney at law. I'm working in Ukraine, in Ukrainian law firm Avelum. My journey till what I have now was maybe a little, it was not very simple. I graduated in 2006 from Kiev, from university in Kiev, just a simple lawyer. And after that, I thought what would be the best specialization. I thought about the tax law. I thought about some other directions, and I maybe will open something. I explain you that from my first grade when I was a kid, I studied in the musical school, and I also continued studying during my university, and even added additional courses as for the jazz. And I saw that my teacher, she created the music, but I saw that it is a lot of problems for her. That she's so creative, the music is so good, and she cannot protect herself at all. I decided that maybe, of course, it was not the main reason, but in general, it was interesting for me to see how people that are simple, that are very creative, but at the same time, without knowledge and without some money, they create. But what is it's very talented. At the same time, they cannot go to and register, or even to protect it in court, for example, when something goes wrong with this creation. And I thought that maybe my profession, my field of specialization, should be something with some, also connected with some creativity. And of course, also I had second graduation in second university regarding the intellectual property, and after that, I decided to go and work in IP boutique, famous in Ukraine, popular. I would say that it was my first job. It was maybe 3 years after my graduation when I finally decided what I want. And from that time, I'm working in this field. I'm very happy. I try to help to such creative people to protect their interests. It's just it's my, of course, I understand that in some time you cannot earn a lot of money, but in some time you can just help them, and maybe they in time they will will show Ukraine in the world, and it's very important too. That is why I'm happy that I'm working with copyright and with other intellectual property objects. So in general, in a few words, why I decided to be an IP lawyer.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that is sometimes forgotten. So I work a lot with patent attorneys and with in the patent field, but also with trademarks. It is sometimes forgotten that we talk about creativity, and that whichever IP we are looking at it is a creative work. Yeah. Also, having a technical solution or finding a smart icon for an app. So whatever we are doing there, it is creativity, and it has a certain value, and IP's dealing with that. And I think that's a very important point, which sometimes in all the in all the details of the procedure law and of the material law, it's sometimes forgotten that the cornerstone of what we're doing has to deal with creativity.
Yes, of course, and I had a chance to see it, how these such IP objects are being developed, and what is the creativity in general. When I was working in a big Ukrainian corporation, which produced candies and chocolate, and my place where I was working was near the marketing department, and I saw in particular what is happening there, how they are working with designers, how they create, and it was very interesting. I saw it, and when you saw it, not from like a lawyer that oh, you have a logo, please file the trademark application. You see it from the beginning, how it was, how many different options were, and only one was it was determined. Yeah, and afterwards you see that 1 year, second year, and the product is not the best. You understand that maybe one of these issue, because it is not very successful, is that its naming, maybe its design was not the best. So you are sitting.
Yeah.
So
and we have in the textbooks some very awful examples that just the name was wrong. Yeah, and especially when it goes to the international market, and that a certain word means in a different language something completely different, and sometimes, or quite often, not very friendly. And then, so the Ford Etzel, I guess, is one of the famous examples where the name was simply not helpful. Yeah, I get you. I mean, that's exactly the point. I mean, whether it is marketing, or it is technology, or it is creative artwork, or it's design of a product, that's really what makes it successful, and we help them with that. I mean, that leads me to my first question to you. So you know both sides. You worked in a company, and you work as a service provider, as a lawyer, and outside. And when you compare these two perspectives, what would you say as a summary? What is the difference between these two locations?
I think that, of course, each position has its pros and cons, but if you decide to, and of course, it's better to try than not to try. Yeah, if you decide to work, if you want to work where, for example, in some in-house as an in-house lawyer, but in my position, of course, I will just explain you about only my views, taking into account my experience, because I worked in law firm when I was heading also a IP practice, but in some time I decided that, of course, there was a different different issues, but in general, I understood that I had the offer from this company, which is called Roshan Confectionery Corporation. Really, for example, in Ukraine, there are not so many companies that have so many brands, sub-brands, and they participate, they sell the products an expert, and of course sell in different countries, not only in, for example, these countries, also in Europe and Africa. And for me as a professional, it was a very good opportunity to understand what is happening in reality. Because if you're young specialist, you just have some tasks from your client, but you never see the whole picture. As I said, you never see how this brand was created, why in particular this dispute was in general began. For example, you as an external lawyer, you see it's just as a matter, as a project. But for in-house lawyer, it's usually the world inside. It's a lot of explanations, a lot of things, thoughts, and of course, a lot of expectations from the management
I
of
would
the
say,
organization.
yeah, I got you. And I mean, for a lawyer in a law firm, as you said, it's a project, and it's pretty much focused on the content, so to speak, on the expert work, which has to be done with certain interface to the company, but that's it. And on the other hand, as a company representative, you need much more also management, communication skills. You interact with all that other people, so which is not necessary for a lawyer. So the interface is much clearer in a law firm, and it's much more focused on this specific legal outcome which we want to see, which we want to have, and not that big picture, and that, yeah, let's say fuzzy decisions which are sometimes associated with that big picture.
Yeah, absolutely. For example, if you are wondering if for example, in-house lawyer cannot produce for you some evidence or prepare some documents at all, and what he's doing for very it needs a lot of time, yeah, for him to prepare them. You are asking why you're doing so not so quickly. But for him, it is a really it's very long project, because they are located in one, for example, one factory. You need to go there. You need to find it. You need to ask. You need to go, for example, to the library, to archive, and find them. So it's a long story, and for external lawyer, it's very important to understand it. Of course, it is better to maybe ask questions why you do this, not just to wait for some information. In general, I took this.
No, but what I quite often hear is that that lawyers or attorneys asking that, yeah, and then they hear from the company representatives, you don't have to care. It's not your business. It's not. So we know what we want, and you just execute. And so sometimes the companies really make a kind of Chinese wall between them and the external attorney or lawyer on purpose, yeah, and just want to buy a certain expert work, but not really. They don't really want to involve these expertise in their decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. And The matter is that without such documents, you cannot show your expertise. It's a problem. Uh, so here is, of course, this is a very tricky moment. But in general, now I understand why there could be some problems with producing of some documents in general. So
Mhm.
continuing this question, I decided to take this opportunity and to start working as a in-house lawyer. It was 4 beautiful years when I worked there as a head of intellectual property. I had a lot of interesting cases. I personally won. It's not, of course, for me as an external lawyer, it was interesting why, for example, some companies having very famous and well-known trademark, for example, yeah, do not uh, uh, do not decide to recognize this trademark as well known, for example. Yeah, it's in Ukraine, for example, it's different procedure. It's not just a registration. When I came to the to as as in-house lawyer, I decided to you know um, realize everything that I wanted to do if I was, for example, external lawyer, but being in-house. So I made everything. I decided to protect the main assets, main trademarks, to recognize all the most important trademark as well known in Ukraine. In fact, we recognized 5 trademarks during this time in Ukraine and 1 trademark in Kazakhstan, for example. Even abroad, we did this because we had a lot of export activity, and people really from these countries, for example, they knew perfectly know very perfectly this brand. I also decided that it could be a very good opportunity to find uh, to leave something, to remain something after me. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
also we had very interesting cases all over the world where the immigrants from the uh, ex-USSR countries are living. mm,
yeah,
for example, in Germany, in the United States, in Israel. Uh, it was there were disputes regarding the so-called Soviet trademarks, Soviet designations that were very popular during the Soviet time, but produced by a lot of factories of the Soviet Union and had the same trademark. At the same time, after the collapse of the Soviet Union, uh, there were very popular brands, and those who filed the trademark application in each country, of course, they had this trademark registered, and it was not very fair uh, because a lot of factories produce this product. At the same time, it began absolutely unfair when, for example, on the market of Israel, there are a lot of exports of such products by different producers from these countries, for example, from Russia, from Ukraine, and from Kazakhstan.
yeah, 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 yeah.
So they
Got
have
you.
the same word marks, the same products, of course, different wrappings, different packagings, but in general, word mark are the same. And of course, uh, the company that won all the disputes, it was from Moscow, who they just simply filed all trademark application via the Madrid procedure on the beginning of in the end of 1919s, and they got registrations, and we tried to say that it's unfair to do this. It's unfair action because a lot of producers, and you knew that perfectly well. But for the courts and for the trademark offices, it was not the argument, because they say that in general, for general public, these marks are have the distinctiveness, and
Yeah.
it's not the problem. But it's of course it's but you know, it's when you travel a lot, when you work in particular countries with particular patent attorneys and attorneys at law, it makes for you a great system of the contacts all over the world. Because
Yeah.
one thing, if you know this contact, for example, from you see this contact in some rankings, international rankings. Yeah. Another thing, if you won with him some particular dispute. And for me now, of course, when I decided finally to go to work as a outside lawyer, for me it's very helpful now. I work with a lot of them, and I help to such companies to find such contacts and to work with them, communicate with them in better way. So
Yeah. I mean, excuse me. I read a comment right now, a big one, and Nana Mailand said that after he went back to private practice, the experience of working in a company helped a lot, let's say, to understand companies and to become a better provider, a better service provider, when you understand what is really of value for the companies, what in timing issues, in timing dimensions, what fits. So that to a certain extent we could derive a kind of summary and saying knowing both sides is for both sides an important advantage. Yeah, would you agree on that?
yeah, absolutely, and I think that for me it was the reason why I decided to come back to the law firm is that, in fact, for each people, each person, for each individual, it is of course it's better to decide. But for me personally, I decided that it's more convenient, more pros. For me, it's to work on the level of external lawyer. But I understand, of course, that both in-house lawyers and outside lawyers, of course, they have advantages and disadvantages. I think maybe just for me, I would say that there are a couple of the main things. For example, the first thing is that you can be it's work-life balance. Yeah, it's better when you are working as an in-house lawyer, of course, because your schedule is quite predictable. For example, in my life, my son was born there during this period, and for me, it was important that I should come home at 6 or at 7. It's very important for young families, yeah. But of course, when you're working as an outside lawyer, you understand that it's the other side of this coin, because in-house lawyer give you a work.
You're always in the firefighting mode.
Yeah, he provided you with the work, and you and go home to his kid,
Yeah.
and you leave on the work just to because tomorrow, for example, is the deadline for filing a lawsuit.
Yeah, but I would like to stay a little bit by this question: who understands whom? Yeah. So what I'm doing in my master class in Strasbourg at SAPB, I divide. So I have typically 1/3 of my students come from private practice, 1/3 comes from industry, and 1/3 from institutions. And so I divide them, okay, and I make a game with them. So I'm simulate negotiations, licensing negotiations, and enforcement negotiations. And what I'm doing is I identify the lawyers, okay, the private practice guys, and put them into the industry part. And I take the industry guys and put them into the consultancy part. And it turns out again and again that it is for them extremely difficult to stand in the shoes of the others. You know? So it is a challenge, so to speak. I mean, for teaching environment, it is good having that, and to make the point clear that we have here a communication issue, that we have a motivation issue, as you said. Typically, we have completely different work-life balance, different perspectives on the things, and I mean, so what might be a recommendation to improve this, for example, communication issues? So what would you say from your perspective?
Yeah, I would say that first of all, I think here appears the issue of what work is more responsible. Because when I traveled from Barcelona into my inter trip in Barcelona, and in airport I had some dispute with my colleague who was external lawyer. That time I was in-house, and he said, I said, working inside is more responsible. He said, why? You understand that you, in particular, if you work as an external lawyer, you have this client, you go to the court, so all responsibility is yours. Also, if you, for example, if you lost, you may even lost the client and lost a lot of money. Why do you think that it's not responsible? I said the different thing, and now I am in opinion that working in house is more responsible. In fact, also I share this. I didn't change my mind, because in fact you are working inside one company if you are in-house lawyer, and you always have contacts with your management, with your director, with their, for example, sales director. And imagine that you decided that, for example, this case in Germany will be accompanied by lawyers. One of the lawyers, you decided that there are some pros and cons. You have found some, as you think, better lawyer and not very expensive. For example, for each case it could be different reasons, of course, but you have found some balance. You inform to your management that they will be the guys who will run this case, and they say okay, and you start, and the time is going, and months are going, and they always ask you, so what is happening there? You, of course, have some reports from your external lawyers, but it's not enough for you, because you need to understand what is really inside. And sometime it happens that they lose the case. And I told him, to my colleague, that your level of responsibility finishes when you told me by the phone or entered the email that we struggled, but we lost. My responsibility here is to take all this, find the reasons, and go to the management. And if director, and for you as an internal lawyer, it's very important to keep the balance, that you are successful lawyer, not you, that you are just not the, like, the pager that you transmit the signals, and you decide something. You could, for example, change something. If you see that guys are not the best or some mistakes, you could change them, but you can influence this. And if you told, if you came to your management and said,
you
okay,
have more degrees of freedom. How to design the whole situation, with whom you're working, which information you give, and so on. Yeah, I agree.
And
the job is much more, has a higher complexity. And as one of our audience, one guy out of the audience, unfortunately I don't know the name, he says, or she says, completely correct, that you have so many interfaces as an internal, and so many degrees of freedom that that the complexity is much higher, and in so far it seems that your possibilities to act are higher compared to an outside lawyer, and that's to a certain extent right. I mean, that's the logic here, and that makes it quite challenging to act as an in-house lawyer.
Yeah, because you can go to the court hearings. You can see your lawyers in the work. You can a lot of options. Maybe some in-house lawyer thinks that they chose some firm and they work, and I will expect for the result. No, in fact, it works in different way. It's my experience. Maybe something in some corporations there are different approaches. Also, and what I would like to say that in fact, if you said that you lost you are lost, not such external lawyer, but in particular you, and you have you begin to have not good reputation, because people know, for example, in corporation, that you run some dispute very important for them. They ask usually for your employees or your colleagues. I ask you, so what's the dispute? It's very interesting. And when you say that you lost it, your reputation is nothing. So of course, it's not literally nothing, but in general, you understand that you lost it. And people who work outside, of course, it's not their part of the game. It's yours. So it's very important that everybody understand it. So that every case, everything that external lawyers do, it's just the beginning of the internal lawyer's reputation. So it's my first advice, a piece of advice. I would say that I also maybe prepared some advice, advice for external lawyers, and maybe for internal too. That for me, for example, when I have some task from my management as being as an in-house lawyer, for me it's very important that in-house lawyer, when I write to him, that he responds as soon as possible, for in one hour, in 2 hours, because you need to at least know, is it possible in general to go in such a way. You don't need some a lot of information. You need at least some understanding that people outside, they're prepared to do it for you. It will be this particular price, and it will be, for example, some particular time frames, and it's okay for you. It's because it happened a lot when you wrote to some companies and gave their feedback.
So you want alignment and responsiveness, that you always feel that you have your wingman out there, and not an administrative institution.
Yeah, and when you receive, for example, even better proposal, even very substantive, well grounded proposal from different law firm, but it was sent to you in 2 days. For me, it was not good, and even I chose some other guys who suggested something better, who at least responded more quickly, provided not very comprehensive analysis, first analysis. I of course usually chose them because I understand their attitude, um, and in relation to me as a client. So for me, it's very important. It was very important, and now when I'm working, I usually try to do it in the best way. Even if I'm on vacation, I try to do it maybe in 3 or 4 hours, because I usually take the phone with me, and I usually want to write something, at least minimum, that I got it, and I working on it. For them, it could be enough.
Yeah, yeah. I got you. I
Second
mean,
issue, yeah,
that's a good feeling. That's a good feeling that I have this wingman. Yeah,
yeah,
um, and that I know I can not just trust, that I know that he or she takes care. Yeah,
yeah,
and that's what you show. You show to the other you are important, and I take care, and I'm available. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
it's a little bit American, I would say, because that's not that European style, at least, but that it is for the client a much better feeling. I would say this obvious, yeah.
Yeah. Second is, if you decided to work with somebody as an in-house lawyer. For me, it was very good uh, when external lawyers provided the detailed, free of charge first advice regarding what options do we have, what, for example, fees it will be. For me, of course, if I don't understand whether we are going or not, for me, it's very important to have as much details as possible. And for somebody, people write that we can provide you with some strategy. It will cost $2,000. For me, it was important that people on the other side understand that I need at least to negotiate this strategy inside. Maybe it will be other strategy, maybe it will be other lawyers, and or maybe in general I don't need to go anywhere in court, to the court. For me, it was much. I appreciated it very much, and now I also try to do more and more, um, um, to provide more information.
Hmm.
Uh,
Got you.
uh,
Yeah.
uh, uh, Also, regarding the invoicing, it's very tricky moment. Of course, if you agreed for some fixed or flat fee, description of what have been done, it's not very important, because you understand that people do their job well, and you just need to pay them some fee that you agreed, some fixed fee. But in case, for example, if you have for example, some dispute in United States or in England, we understand that it can be that it will not be some fixed fee. It will be hourly rates. And for internal lawyers, for example, for me, it was very important what is inside, what was done to my money, for my money. I need to 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 see these descriptions, yeah. And when I see, for example, that people are studying the legislation for my money, or searching some court practice that is not so important, or I understand that they search for court practice for example, 5 or 6 hours, and it's not very important for this particular case. Of course, I usually say him, guys, will not pay for this because you're professional. Of course, you can run some. You must check, of course, the court practice, but it doesn't mean that I need to pay for your education. Of course, it can be some different approaches, and in cases, for example, like when we have the precedent law, of course, in some countries it's very important to find the best precedent. But in some countries, it doesn't matter. Just for informational purpose, you need to find some court practice and understand in what way the court considers this particular issue. Of course, it's important, but I mean that I usually read very carefully all these descriptions, and I tried to communicate this with external lawyers, and usually, in fact, they agreed with me on these issues. That and now I try to, if we will work on hourly rates, we now try to issue the invoices when they are only effective hours or some discount is applicable. So for in-house lawyer, sometimes it's very important. Of course, there are some clients for them it's not important. They just see the numbers and pass them to the finance department. Of course, it's better to know such clients, but in general, I see that everybody wants to save money and to see what was done for particular money.
No, I mean, transparency is important, and to a certain extent, it is a question of trust to each other, that the service provider is just doing what is really necessary, and what really improves the likelihood of success. And I guess when you have a long-standing practice of cooperation, it's much easier to have that trust. And of course, the farther these guys away, and the more unique the case is, the harder is it to evaluate whether this particular action was necessary or not.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Also,
it means for the service provider, it means showing transparency is good. Yeah, of course.
Yes, and if you show that you agree that you decided to leave only some effective hours, you made even some discount for your convenience. It's really people inside, they are really appreciate it very much, and they will work with you. They must understand. I mean, external lawyer need to understand that for in-house lawyer to have some stable contact in some country, it's better than to switch in each particular project to the other contact.
Of course. I mean, you have transaction costs with that.
Yes.
So we have just 2 minutes left. So what is with your recommendation list? How many recommendations do you have on it?
I think maybe the most I would my main recommendation here, when you're in-house lawyer, of course, the matter of visibility of you on the market is more applicable to external lawyer. You should participate in conferences, write some articles, and be in general active, because you need to show this to your possible clients. But if you are in-house lawyer, my recommendation is not to be active here in this field too. It's very important. Also, to participate, people who are arrange conferences, they will be very happy to see you there. Not only even not if not in like attendee, yeah, but maybe you will be a speaker on the conference. It's really great opportunity to in-house lawyers to be more active, because active in there are a lot of very active in-house lawyers. I know why, because in general it can be the politics inside the company is that you should work, and please do not visit, because what you are going to say, we have all confidential matters. So
Yeah.
it's better to work than to speak.
Yeah.
But for me, also there are some issues with this thing. But I always tried to visit Inter, to participate at Inter, really.
Yeah,
And
obviously.
also, I usually participated in Ukrainian conferences. By the way, as after that, for example, we have in Ukraine our main Ukrainian conferences that is arranged by some our magazine, and they have ranking for in-house lawyer. And after my active steps, I really got the prize that I was a #1 IP in-house lawyer in Ukraine.
Wow!
So,
wow!
Yeah.
Congratulations. So unfortunately, the time is over for today.
Yeah.
That was very, very interesting. We received many comments, and we have the after show party in LinkedIn. So please look at the feed of that. Look in the feed of our event here, and then you will see that you will see the comments, and you can answer also to that. And to the audience, thank you very much for attending our IP Business Academy talk. So I hope you saw that we have a summer break, and I see you again in September. So bye-bye. Have a good and interesting summertime. Thank you, Anton, for joining us. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.